Imagine yourself facing the worst day of your life. That feeling of helplessness, where everything seems to crumble around you, and every step seems to be an insurmountable challenge. We all go through moments like this, moments that test us to the limit, that make us question our own strength and ability to move forward. But what if the strength you're looking for was already inside you, waiting to be discovered? What if, in the midst of the chaos, there was a part of you, an inner strength you never knew you had, capable of turning pain into resilience, failure into learning, and fear into courage? This video is not just about overcoming obstacles, but about revealing a part of you that has perhaps been dormant for too long. Throughout this video, we will explore the power of resilience through the lens of Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that has the power to transform modern lives. And if you stay with me until the end, you will discover two books that will not only deepen your understanding of these topics, but that can also be true guides to a stronger and more balanced life. You may be wondering, why is this content important to me? Because, like you, I've also faced situations where everything seemed lost. And I discovered, just as you can now, that the real strength is not in the circumstances, but in the way we choose to face them. This content will help you understand how to cultivate resilience and inner strength in the midst of everyday adversity, using Stoic wisdom as a guide. And how will this happen? Through deep and practical reflections that will challenge you to see obstacles in a whole new way. Let's together, step by step, build an unshakable mindset, capable of weathering the storms of life. And by the end, not only will you feel stronger, but you'll also be equipped with practical tools to tackle any challenge that comes your way. Prepare to discover that in the midst of chaos, it is possible to find peace. That in the center of pain, there is growth. And that, in the end, true overcoming is not just winning, but becoming the best version of yourself. Let's start this journey together, and I assure you, what you'll discover here has the potential to change your life. Your inner power, overcoming. Let's think about a time in your life when everything seemed out of control. Maybe it was the loss of a loved one, that void that no one seems to be able to fill, or the end of a love relationship that you thought would last forever. These moments have the power to take us off our feet, make us question the meaning of everything, and that's exactly where many people get lost. Stoicism, an ancient school of thought that flourished more than 2,000 years ago, teaches us the art of living well, even in the worst circumstances. But how exactly does it work? Let's start with the fundamental principles of this philosophy. One of the most powerful concepts of Stoicism is virtue. For the Stoics, true virtue is the supreme good, something we should seek in all our actions. But what does this mean in practice? It means acting with integrity, fairness, courage, and wisdom, regardless of the difficulties you face. Imagine facing the loss of a loved one with the strength to honor that person's memory, living the best way possible, or dealing with the end of a relationship knowing that you can, yes, find peace and happiness within yourself, without depending on others. Another essential principle of Stoicism is the control of emotions. The Stoics believe that we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to these situations. This means that instead of being slaves to our emotions, such as fear, anger, sadness, we can learn to master them. Think about a time when you lost control over your emotions and how it negatively affected your life. Now imagine if you had the ability to face this same situation calmly and clearly. In addition, Stoicism teaches us to accept what we cannot change. This does not mean resigning or giving up, but rather understanding that there are things that are out of our control and that fighting against them will only bring unnecessary suffering. For example, losing someone we love is inevitable, but how we choose to cope with that loss can determine how much peace or pain we carry forward. Accepting reality, no matter how hard it may be, is the first step towards overcoming. And how do these principles apply in practice? Let's look at some historical examples of figures who lived these values. Think of Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers. He began his life as a slave, a position where almost everything was out of his control except his mind. Rather than rebelling against his situation, he dedicated his life to teaching that true freedom comes from within, from our ability to control our thoughts and attitudes. Another example is Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who, even in the face of wars, plagues, and betrayals, ruled with a quiet mind, guided by Stoic principles. Imagine that you are facing a difficult situation at work. Maybe you've received a negative review from a superior, or you're dealing with a project that isn't going well. It's natural to feel frustrated and unmotivated, but Stoicism offers a valuable perspective for dealing with this adversity. First, ask yourself, what's within my control here? You may not be able to change the criticism you receive or the progress of the project, but you can control how you react to this situation. You can decide to maintain a professional attitude, seek to learn from criticism, and do your best to improve your performance. Focusing on what you can control helps reduce stress and frustration. Then reflect on how to act in accordance with virtue. Stoic principles teach us to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. In this context, wisdom can mean using criticism as a learning opportunity. Courage involves facing the challenge proactively, even when it is uncomfortable. Justice entails treating others with respect, even if you feel wronged. And temperance can help you stay calm and not let your emotions negatively influence your behavior. Finally, ask yourself, how can I accept what I can't change and move on? Accepting that some things are beyond your control allows you to release the tension associated with them. Instead of spending energy worrying about what you can't change, focus on how you can improve the situation with the tools you have. Acceptance is not resignation, but rather a way to channel your energy into constructive actions. These examples show that regardless of adversity, it is possible to find strength and purpose through Stoicism. You can also apply these principles in your daily life. Your inner power, resilience. Now that we understand the essence of Stoic principles, let's dive into one of the most important pillars of this philosophy, resilience. Resilience, in Stoicism, is not just a skill we develop over time, but a fundamental characteristic for living up to virtue. It is through it that we become able to overcome life's adversities, maintaining our integrity and our internal balance. In Stoicism, resilience is seen as the ability to resist and adapt in the face of difficulties, without allowing them to shake our inner peace. The Stoics teach us that life is full of inevitable challenges, losses, failures, injustices, but that our true strength is revealed in the way we face those obstacles. It is not about avoiding pain or denying reality, but about finding within ourselves the ability to endure, learn, and grow from these experiences. The importance of resilience cannot be underestimated. It is what allows us to continue moving forward when everything seems to be against us, and it is through it that we achieve our goals, even in the most adverse conditions. For the Stoics, resilience is closely linked to the concept of amor fati, or the love of fate. This means not only accepting what happens, but embracing every situation as an opportunity for growth. When we develop resilience, we are able to see challenges not as insurmountable barriers, but as tests that strengthen us and bring us closer to our best version. But how to apply and develop resilience in our daily lives? The first stage is the constant practice of self-awareness. We must be aware of our reactions to difficulties, observing how we deal with stress, frustration, or pain. The Stoics encourage us to examine our emotional responses, questioning whether they align with our values and long-term goals. From this reflection, we can begin to shape our reactions, choosing to act with courage and serenity, rather than giving in to despair or anger. Let's illustrate this with a practical example. Imagine that you face a major professional setback, an unexpected layoff or failure on an important project. The first impulse may be despair, the feeling that all is lost. But by applying the Stoic teachings, you can choose a different path. Instead of wallowing in regret, you recognize that this situation, while difficult, does not define your value as a person. You accept what happened, reflect on what you can learn from it, and then begin to plan your next steps, with your mind focused on what is within your control. This approach not only allows you to overcome the crisis more easily, but also turns the setback into an opportunity for growth. Perhaps you discover new skills, explore new areas of interest, or simply strengthen your resilience by becoming more prepared to face future adversity. To further exemplify the application of resilience, we can look to a historical tale deeply linked to Stoicism, the story of Cicero, one of the great orators and philosophers of ancient Rome. Cicero faced numerous adversities throughout his life, from exile to political persecution. Instead of succumbing to despair, he used each challenge as a springboard for personal and professional growth. During exile, for example, he took the time to write some of his most important philosophical works, turning a period of apparent defeat into one of the greatest intellectual legacies in Roman history. Another classic example is that of Viktor Frankl, who, although not a Stoic by training, lived and practiced many of the Stoic principles. Surviving the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps, Frankl developed logotherapy, a psychological approach centered on the meaning of life and resilience in the face of extreme adversity. Frankl shows us that even in the most unimaginable conditions, it is possible to find purpose and maintain dignity. These historical and practical examples teach us that resilience is not something that develops overnight, but is a constant practice, which starts in the small things of everyday life. From the way we react to a traffic delay, to the way we face great losses, every situation is an opportunity to strengthen our ability to resist and thrive. At the end of the day, Stoic resilience leads us to a fuller and more balanced life. It teaches us that, as much as we can't control everything around us, we can always choose how to respond to the challenges that life presents us. And that choice, that ability to turn adversity into opportunity, is what allows us to not only survive, but to live with purpose and meaning. The inner power of self-knowledge. After exploring the importance of resilience as a central pillar in Stoicism, it is natural to move on to another fundamental aspect that complements this journey of overcoming: self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is not just a reflection of introspection, but a continuous and deep process that allows us to understand who we really are, our strengths, weaknesses, desires, and fears. It is this understanding that gives us the necessary tools to not only face, but overcome the challenges that life imposes on us. In Stoicism, self-knowledge is seen as the foundation on which we build our ability to overcome obstacles. It is through it that we gain clarity about our values, our principles, and our motivations. This clarity, in turn, allows us to act in a way that is aligned with our true essence, without being sidetracked by passing emotions or external pressures. When we know ourselves deeply, we know how far we can go and, more importantly, how we can go beyond what we once thought possible. The connection between self-knowledge and the ability to overcome is deep and intrinsic. When we know ourselves well, we have a clearer notion of our limits, but also of our potential. We know where we need to work to grow and where we are already strong. This awareness gives us confidence to face challenges, as we understand that difficulties are not insurmountable barriers, but opportunities to test and expand our capabilities. For example, imagine someone who is struggling to overcome a negative habit, such as procrastination. Without self-knowledge, this person may feel frustrated, guilty, and powerless in the face of this behavior. However, by engaging in a process of self-knowledge, she can begin to identify the triggers that lead to procrastination, understand the underlying fears or beliefs that fuel her, and thus begin to work more effectively to change this pattern. Self-knowledge, in this case, not only illuminates the path to overcoming, but also offers the necessary tools to achieve this change. Another example can be seen in the way we deal with the fear of failure. Often, the fear of failure is a reflection of a distorted understanding of ourselves and our capabilities. As we deepen our self-knowledge, we can realize that fear is often born from unrealistic expectations or a lack of confidence in our own abilities. When we recognize this, we are able to redefine our relationship with failure, seeing it not as an end, but as an essential part of the growth and learning process. This understanding empowers us to face our challenges with more courage and determination. One of the greatest historical examples that illustrates the importance of self-knowledge and overcoming comes from Marcus Aurelius himself, the philosopher-emperor. In his writings, often compiled in the book Meditations, Marcus Aurelius reflected on his own life, his decisions, his weaknesses, and his responsibilities. This daily practice of introspection allowed him to govern with wisdom and resilience, even in the face of the enormous pressures and challenges of being the leader of an empire. For him, self-knowledge was essential not only for his role as a ruler, but also for his personal journey of growth and virtue. The process of self-knowledge, however, is not something that is conquered all at once. It requires time, patience, and most of all, honesty with yourself. It's an ongoing journey of exploring our motivations, our reactions, and our deepest beliefs. And on this journey, Stoicism offers us valuable tools, such as the practice of daily reflection, the analysis of our emotions, and the search for inner truth. By integrating self-knowledge into our life, we begin to realize that overcoming is not just about overcoming external challenges, but about overcoming ourselves, our self-imposed limitations, our fears and insecurities. This inner victory is what truly allows us to transcend what we once thought of as our limits. Overcoming suffering. When we talk about overcoming, it is impossible to ignore the presence of suffering in our lives. Suffering, whether emotional or mental, is a reality that we all face at some point. Stoic principles teach that suffering is not something to be feared or avoided at any cost. Rather, it is seen as a natural part of the human experience, something that can teach us valuable lessons and strengthen our character. For the Stoics, suffering is a kind of test of our resilience and wisdom. How we react to it, how we face it, defines who we are and who we can become. One of the most powerful techniques that Stoicism offers us to overcome suffering is the practice of contemplation. Contemplating, in this context, means looking at suffering objectively, without being dragged by emotion. It means reflecting on the nature of what causes us pain, questioning whether it really has the power to destroy us or if it is just a temporary challenge. Contemplation helps us realize that we often suffer more from the way we interpret events than from the events themselves. When we look at suffering in this light, we begin to understand that it is, to a large extent, a construct of our mind. In addition to contemplation, the Stoics place a deep value on acceptance. This does not mean passive resignation or giving up, but rather the acceptance of reality as it is, without unnecessary resistance. Accepting what we cannot change frees us from the constant anguish of trying to control the uncontrollable. For example, imagine that you are experiencing a significant loss, such as the breakup of a relationship or the death of a loved one. The pain is real, and grief is inevitable. However, you can find a way to deal with this pain in a more constructive way. Through contemplation, you can recognize that no matter how devastating the loss is, it doesn't define your entire existence. You can begin to accept that despite the pain, life goes on and that there are new paths to take. This acceptance does not eliminate the pain, but transforms it, allowing you to find meaning and even a new purpose in the midst of suffering. Stoicism teaches us that suffering can be a tool for developing wisdom. Each pain, each challenge, brings with it the opportunity to learn more about ourselves and about life. When we face suffering in a Stoic way, with serenity and reflection, we begin to develop a wisdom that could not be acquired otherwise. This wisdom gives us a broader and deeper perspective on life, allowing us to see beyond the immediate difficulties and understand the bigger picture. This connection between suffering and wisdom is fundamental in Stoicism. The great Stoic philosophers, such as Seneca and Epictetus, lived lives full of adversity, but it was precisely through these experiences that they achieved a deep understanding of human nature and the universe. Not only did they overcome their personal pains, but they also turned those experiences into teachings that continue to guide and inspire generations to this day. In everyday life, we can apply this wisdom in small and large situations. From dealing with stress at work to facing a personal crisis, Stoicism offers us practical tools to manage suffering. Contemplation helps us keep the mind clear and focused, while acceptance frees us from the weight of useless resistance. Together, these practices allow us to face adversity with more courage and less anguish. Overcoming suffering is not only a matter of survival, but of growth. It is a journey that leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and life. When we embrace suffering as an inevitable part of existence and apply Stoic principles to dealing with it, we begin to realize that pain can be a catalyst for transformation and the development of wisdom. And with this wisdom, we not only overcome suffering, but also emerge stronger, more resilient, and better prepared to face the challenges ahead. Your life purpose. As we deepen our understanding of Stoicism and its application in overcoming suffering, we naturally emerge into an even deeper issue, the purpose of life. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the quest to live according to our nature, in harmony with the cosmos, and in alignment with a higher purpose. And it is precisely through overcoming challenges and adversity that we often find the necessary clarity to discover this purpose. Stoicism teaches us that life is not a series of random, disconnected events, but a journey with meaning and direction. Every challenge we face, every pain we overcome, can guide us closer to our purpose. When we are forced to confront our weaknesses, fears, and limitations, we are also pushed to explore more deeply who we are and what we truly value. It is in this process of overcoming that the purpose of life begins to reveal itself. The connection between Stoicism, overcoming, and life purpose is undeniable. For the Stoics, living with purpose means living according to virtue. By facing challenges with this mindset, we not only overcome them, but transform our lives into something meaningful. Life purpose, then, is not something we simply find, it is something we build, day after day, through our choices and actions. Stoicism encourages us to find purpose not only in the great accomplishments but also in the small daily actions. Every decision we make, every challenge we face, can be an opportunity to live according to our purpose. It helps us stay focused, even when the circumstances are difficult, because we know that every moment, no matter how painful or challenging, has the potential to bring us closer to what really matters. This Stoic view of purpose also teaches us not to be overly attached to external outcomes. Instead, the focus is on living according to our principles, regardless of the outcome. This does not mean that we should not strive to achieve our goals, but rather that we should do so with the awareness that the true value lies in the journey, not just the destination. When we live with this understanding, adversity loses some of its power to lead us astray, because we are always anchored in something bigger and deeper. When we focus our energy on what we can control, our actions, our attitudes, our values, we are able to navigate difficulties with a calmer mind and a steadier heart. We know that even in the midst of chaos, we can maintain direction, because our internal compass is calibrated by purpose. Each challenge overcome is a step towards our purpose, and each time we connect with that purpose, we find the strength we need to overcome new challenges. This interdependence reminds us that life is a journey of continuous growth, where every difficulty is an opportunity to align ourselves even more with our true purpose. Therefore, as we face adversity with open eyes and a resolute heart, guided by Stoic principles, we discover that the purpose of life is not something distant and unattainable. It is present in every choice we make, in every battle we fight, in every moment of overcoming. And by living with this understanding, we transform not only our own life, but also the world around us, contributing to a greater purpose, where every action is a reflection of what we most value and aspire to be. Now that we've explored the deep connection between Stoicism, it's important to remember that this journey of self-discovery and growth can be further enriched through inspiring readings. And that's why I'd like to recommend 2 books that, without a doubt, can transform the way you face life and its challenges. The first book I recommend is Meditations, by Marcus Aurelius. This is one of the most emblematic texts of Stoicism, written by the Roman emperor himself during his military campaigns. What makes meditation so powerful is its sincerity and simplicity. Marcus Aurelius did not write to impress others. His words were addressed to himself, as a constant reminder of how to live a virtuous and balanced life. He reflects on the importance of virtue, controlling emotions, and accepting things that are out of our control. By reading his meditations, we are invited to adopt a more serene and wise perspective in the face of adversity, finding inner peace even in the midst of outer chaos. This book teaches us that regardless of the circumstances, we can always choose how to respond, and that this choice defines our true strength and character. The second book is Man in Search of Meaning, by Viktor Frankl. While not a text about Stoicism, Frankl's central message aligns deeply with Stoic principles. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and survivor of the Nazi concentration camps, explores in this book how it is possible to find meaning and purpose even in the most extreme situations of suffering. He argues that when we have a why to live, we can endure almost anyhow. Frankl teaches us that the meaning of life is not something we are given, but something we create, especially in response to the adversities we face. This search for meaning, even in the midst of pain, resonates with the Stoic philosophy of accepting suffering as an inevitable part of life, using it as a catalyst for personal growth and fulfillment. Both books, in their own way, offer invaluable tools for overcoming and discovering the purpose of life. By integrating the teachings from these books into your life, you will be able to face challenges with a fresh perspective, cultivating the resilience, wisdom, and sense of purpose necessary to overcome any obstacle. Not only do they light the way, but they also provide the inner strength needed to move forward, even in the darkest of times. Therefore, I invite you to immerse yourself in these readings and allow the words of Marcus Aurelius and Viktor Frankl to transform your view of the world and yourself, guiding you towards a fuller and more fulfilled life. Finally, I want to leave you with 2 suggestions for videos that will further deepen your understanding and provide great evolutions in your life. These videos are not just another step in your journey of evolution, but a real opportunity to transform your life. Take advantage of these resources, allow yourself to dive into these reflections, and see how small adjustments in your mindset can create big changes. I'll wait for you in the next video.